Hi there, thank you for watching this video. Today I will share my experiences with working with the Planet.training editor. It's an editor to draw and animate your football tactics. And actually Planet.training is more than just the editor, but since this tool is at the heart of their system, I will share my findings. The question of course is, what makes a good editor? As a coach, you are looking for a convenient way to formulate your ideas and to visualize them and have them shared with your players. So my criteria are that it's all about how quick and easy can you create those animations, how appealing do they look on any regular device, whether it's a PC, a smartphone or a tablet, and then finally, once you created it, how easy is it to reuse that image or even edit it so that you can make use of your previous work, so that you can effectively build up a database with your favorite exercises. And for that you also need to be able to organize and categorize your exercises as well. So that's something that I will be testing for when working with the editor of Planet.training, and I hope you find it informative and you might want to give it a try to find out whether this tool could be something for you. What I will be showing, this is the running example during the setup, is the Y form, and it's a basic setup. So you might agree or disagree with how I created it. It's just a basic passing form where players will start at this position with the ball. It can run on both sides, going this way and the other way around. They will make a pass, player will receive the ball, make a turn, play the ball, and then players here will run back with the ball. Now this is what I'm going to use. How do we go from the first scene to the final scene? So the whole scene flow has to be okay. And every intermediate step, every intermediate scene should reveal something about the exercise that is important to know. So what you can see here is basically the drawing canvas with a couple of toolbars, and on the right side we have a palette with all the elements that are available. And as I will be drawing the Y form, you will see how I will select all of the items that I need and how I can change some of the aspects that are relevant. So first of all, we have this bird's eye view, and I want to show you that it's possible to change fields. So if I select here, I can open the option change field, and it gives us first of all a set of field perspectives, but you can even choose the type of coloring that you like. So in general it's most appealing to have a green color, but sometimes you might want to set it to white background. It could help you to highlight some of your training materials more effectively, so that's up to you. By any time you can change the color afterwards, so even if you started with, for example, the green color, you can change it without any problem. So I'm going to choose just the green field, no lines whatsoever, and this is my basic canvas. Make sure that you put all the non-player objects in there first, so that it's most convenient for drawing for you to basically set up everything that you need from the scene flow perspective, and then finally you can choose to add players. So I will start off with some of the pawns that I will be using. So we put them out here, and especially when we start, it's nice to basically have a grid and that we can snap to the grid. So to show you, if I pick it up, it gets dragged onto some coordinate, and this is for alignment purposes. Now the most easy way to duplicate some of these pawns is by just using this button. You can see that I selected the item because of the orange circle that's next to it, and when I just hit a couple of times, it will just duplicate. And since the coloring is okay, I can just do it by that. I'm going to create this Y form, and just getting rid of those items. If you want to do it with multiple, you select multiple and you use the bin. You will be prompted to delete them, and I will do. So for the alignment, it's quite something you have to do yourself, more optical stuff. It's not something that they have arranged in terms of lines that will be drawn to show you that the distance from here to there is similar. But in most cases you can see it yourself, figure it out quite easily and fast. So here I have the initial form. I'm quite happy with it already. I will remove the grid so that you can see what it looks like. I might want to draw a little bit down, and then I can decide whether I think that this is big enough. So one option is to zoom in on the field and to actually center it even more, to highlight and make clear where you need to be. And from there we have a basic view, but we still need to add a couple of more things. We need to think of the arrows. What directions do the players need to go? So as you can see, there are many types of lines available, and a tooltip indicates what Planet.training considers to be the meaning. And in general, I believe that this is convenient, and also with sticking to the conventions. So let's assume that this is the initial position, and as you can see, it automatically colors the shape with the last chosen color, and I prefer to have black or dark as a color for the actual arrows. I will relax it a little bit by releasing the grid, and then I know that once the pass is given from here, I can duplicate it, indicating it could also be initiated from here, and from there on I need the player that will be available over here. I don't know why I created a new arrow. I could have duplicated it, but I want to show this dashed line to indicate that the ball will be passed. So that's this solid line, and then this dashed line indicating that it's about a player moving from one pawn to another. And as I told you, I can duplicate quickly. I can put it up here or even inside. That's a little bit better. It's even more consistent. And from there I know that the player will make a small U-turn. Now actually, in many cases, coaches do want the player to make this initial action, to start from the pawn and then move in one direction and move back again. So we could do that as well. Make it a little bit dashed. And from there I will duplicate to show you how the player can actually make a small turn. From here we see it. Oh, there it is. And then give a pass. So here it is, we have it. And as you can see, it might be that this is just a little bit too close to the pawn, so I will choose to drag it once more, have it more centered, and highlight that there needs to be a pass from here, and even there I could make a copy to show that the player that is standing over here has to make a move first, so moving away from the ball and then going towards the ball. And from there we want this running back to the starting point with a little curve in there, but also with this. Now some might disagree that this is the right one, because it's actually dribbling, so we could also use this one and drag it, and then this type of arrow will indicate that the player is just running with the ball, going back to its starting position. Now whether you choose for a player to work on one side and then switch during, let's say, a couple of minutes, or that you immediately want to have the player come up here to this position, that's all up to you. So this is what it looks like, I guess, from all the lines. I would do the same thing over here, and then I need to indicate, or at least what I do, indicate what is the order, what is the flow. It all starts over here, so you could basically center this, and then you could actually agree that this should be first, the player making the move, put it up here, and then actually passing the ball will be step 2. Then the player receiving and controlling the ball and making the turn is step 3. You could also then still say we need this running thing to happen as well simultaneously, so put it in between. Then after the turn is being made, we want this player here to make his or her move, so that would be 4. Then actual passing will be step 5, so we put it in here. And then finally running with the ball, we need to do it over here. And as you can see, and that's something you typically have when you are drawing, I forgot to basically draw this line of running as well. So I have to put it in here, showing that the player has to move there. And then I need to be a little bit careful, because I think it's good to show that the passing happens over here and the running goes in this direction, and this is basically what happens simultaneously as well. So we put it in here. Well, that's already quite a lot, and I will show you, as we have drawn all the players, how we can make this a little bit more readable, so that ultimately you can understand not only what is being shown when it's moving, but also when you just see the plain image. So I used a couple of elements from here. There are multiple other areas or shapes that you can use, but as I said, what I need to add here would be a measurement line, and it's just that I want to show that in my drawing, I think it was around 6 meters. I need to add this, one going too fast, and then add a coloring showing that the distance here will be 6 meters. Then I will put in another one here, and it's a little bit further away. Now it's not exactly at scale, but we will make we will make it here as well, showing you what it looks like in terms of the actual length. And going back to this grid, if I want to really have it straight, I can do it like this, and now they are well aligned over here. So this is my length, and then I said, okay, we need to also say something about the distance from here to there. So my drawing said it was 4 meters, so now you have it, and I can copy that once more and put it in there. So it's quite symmetric on this side, and then at least you can see that you have some measures that allow you to make it actually, to put it out in the field to set it up. And especially when you want to discuss some alternatives, you can say you can vary in the distance from this point to there, or from this point to there, or actually make it a little bit wider. That's all possible, but at least you have the initial measures and the initial distances being displayed. So let's do an intermediate save. I will put some balls in here. So again, it uses the colors of my last colored element. We put them there. I will also use some balls over here, and as you can see, it's still snapping to that grid, which when you start working on the players is something I would say you don't prefer, because then it doesn't allow you to have the flexibility to use that particular spot that you are looking for. So here we are, we have 2 balls out there, and basically you could choose to have just a jersey, this circle, or a player shape that you see from the top. And this is actually my preference. So let's put it in here. Have it at this side. Have another one. Oh, and by the way, you could choose to have a particular coloring. So let's say on the right hand side we take yellow, and this player, I like it to be well, green is of course not a proper choice. Orange, then you see at least some differences. And then I need to decide where I need to have the players that are already here and there. So let's have this one here. Let's see that one, and probably it's good to have 2 players over here, and especially at the beginning you want to have 2 players, so you want to put him there. Now I can copy the ball, and here I want to show you what happens if you add an object to the scene. So we can see that the ball is actually above the player image, because this one was created by me before this one. So what I would like is of course that it looks like it's underneath the player, and for that I just need to select it. Well, as you can see, it's already highlighted, and then I would say I want to send it to the back, so it's actually underneath. That's quite nice, because then I can show that it's going to be underneath the player. But when I pick up the ball, it will show you that it's also underneath the arrows, and that's a little bit annoying. Luckily they have a nice feature for that, so I can say I want to select the graphics, and as you can see, if I do that, all the line drawings are selected, and then I do a bulk send to back operation, and as we can see, the ball is now above this line and it's still underneath the player. So that's something you need to keep in mind when working on an image or drawing. Is basically it's going to be stacked, and of course the balls and the players need to be on top, and depending on what you want to show, it's either the player or the ball, but you can easily adjust that. So I would need to have a couple of players over here and there, but I'm going to only work for the left side. So we have 5 players. Well, in a small team, when you are with 10 kids or 10 players, you can do that. If you were to have more, well, you could add another one here and decide to have already a player over there, so that you can easily add more to them. Now I'm going to make a small save again, and then we have our initial setup, and this is still quite hard to see, I can imagine, because what it will do is it's well, the arrows and of course these numbers, they tend to be distracting from what we see from the players. So what I will be doing, and here is a little bit of something that might be a little bit annoying to you, is let's select all the graphics once more, and well, we can already give them an alternative color. So if we were to use gray, it would already look like it's more that the players are showing up, but we could even decide for those graphical elements to set the opacity, and that's my recommendation to you. Make it clear that you can see the arrows, but it's quite transparent, so that when you see it right now, it's quite a difference, so that you can see still the order of execution, you can see the arrows, but the players are there as well. One thing that I need to do again is readjust this here, because they were also involved. I cannot have a deselection that easily, so the quickest way to do is just to reset the opacity and reset the coloring of the elements that shouldn't be involved. But again, this is something you need to think of when you start making those drawings yourself, because those type of adjustments tend to be hard. So here we are again. We still need to reset the opacity, and this is the basic setup. and from there we want to show what the actual execution looks like. So as you can see from the numbers, we want this player to move from here to there, making clear that he or she wants to receive the ball. The player over here will play the ball. Then the next step is making this turn and this passing, and meanwhile this player will already run to this pawn, and from there it will be that this player will also indicate, hey, I'm available, just play me, but just not when I'm standing still. The pass will be given and the player will be running. So here we go. How do we do it? It's very simple. When we look at the toolbar, we can see that we have this insert scene icon, and when I click, I just get a complete, it's an exact copy of the first scene. So here these dots allow me to switch between scenes. There's actually an indicator, so this is scene 2 of 2. This is my starting scene, and if I were to play all, you could see nothing happens because all objects are on both images or both scenes exactly the same. But let's start with this movement of the player, and I will do that in the second scene. So I will do this, and then I will add a scene. Player will move back, and here it depends, of course, whether you already want the ball to be played. I think that's quite natural, so we would say in going back, and here you have to be very careful. You might want to use your keyboard with the up and down arrow just to select it properly, is you put it in here. So what I did was, going back to the previous one, I started with the player over here, then I moved the player backwards, and here the player goes back to the pawn, and then the ball is being played. So what does that look like if I would say I will just play the second scene? So I can play the scene like this. If I want to see the whole result of all the scenes, I would do just play all, and you can see what's going on. And I will show you that every step is similar by just thinking in the way that the arrows are. So it's basically the flow of the execution, and from there I can make the adjustments on a per scene basis. So here we go then. So here we are then, having one cycle with a couple of players, and I could rerun it again. So what does it look like? Just showing you that every element that I changed from the previous scene will be an animated path. So as you can see, some steps tend to be quite fast. So for example, this part is something that you might want to slow down. And there is also this, let's say, this clock available, this timer that allows you to basically set the pace of each scene. And as you can imagine, this is going faster and this is going slower. I would agree that it would be nice to actually see a particular percentage, or let's say duration time, but yeah, it's something you need to sort out, as you can change it easily. So this is the slowest possible, and I think this is quite good for what we need to show. And I can change that for other scenes as well, making sure that it's just not too fast. So again, let's see what happens. This is quite okay. Player moves, the ball is being passed. It's not going too fast. You can see what is happening. So this is the setup of this Y-form with Planet.training. There are many more things you can do, but I hope this gives you a good impression of the possibilities that you can have already. As I'm going to hit save, it will be processed. So now I'm actually done, and from there you will see that it starts to process. It will take some time. So here we have it, and we just can play it with our video player, showing you everything we already know. But the most important thing to show here is that once you start annotating your exercise, you can basically set properties in terms of what you think that fitness level is involved. So it's a scale on 1 to 5, depending on where you want to stress and put highlights. So I think it's quite a technical form. You don't need that much tactics. It's all about technique. You have to sort it out yourself. You could say, well, I want it to be available for all teams, so why not use this one? It's actually, I think, in the warm-up situation. You can do it with a smaller group or your team. You don't need any goalies, at least not in this setup, but you could do. And from there you could decide on which other properties you want to set, which would allow you to really search effectively or use filters as you create your own database with all exercises, and you start grouping them and you can segment them based on what they actually were and as you intended them to be, because you add these properties. So let's say, what is the most applicable term? Well, you have to run with ball, you have to make a twist, and there are a couple of other things as well. So if I save, that's already done, but let's assume that I want to make a small adjustment. There is a nice copy feature over here, so I'm going to create another element in the exercise description, and you can see that here I can create a new drawing or new animation, but I already have a base, basically a skeleton, and I can copy that one easily and put it in here. So now I have an exact copy of the whole animation that I already created. And let's assume that I want to do something differently. Well, I only want to have the starting scene. I can quickly remove all other scenes, and I can make the adjustment that I would like to make. So for example, let's assume I wanted to have a player just passing back. That is something I can add just by basically putting this arrow down here, and it's a little bit mixed up, but that's something you always get when you have multiple arrows involved. You say, well, the player has to make a move first to here. Nope, there it is. It's a little bit annoying. Now I need to let me throw it away. I'll make a copy. It's that easy, so no worries. It will be there, and then a pass will be given by the player. So everything needs to be rearranged, but the basic setup is similar. So I can delete this one, I can delete this one, and have then the player move in that direction again with a turn. So that's the way you can make use of this copy paste, and then it will be a little bit different over here. So not going to finish on this one, but you get an understanding. So then my final thoughts. Regarding the usability and productivity, I really believe they have an excellent editor. So I would definitely give 4 points. I think it's very easy to create any perspective that you like. It's very easy to create animations. They have a lot of cool features. You can create almost any perspective you like. Therefore, I would definitely say this is the type of editor that anybody can use to create tactics, animations and drawings. A few remarks though. I think it would be very convenient to have an undo operation for the animation editor, and I think that it would be nice to have some alignment option, visual display. I personally think that it's very appealing, given that it's very easy to create those animations and you really want to show the essence of your ideas. If you use the bird's eye view, then you definitely have everything in there to create the best possible animations. If you want to have a slightly different perspective on a particular angle on the pitch, then you can make use of the images of the players and choose the directions that they are in. Very, very nice. I would say, again, 4 points. Final part, it's the reuse and sharing. 5 points. Planet.training managed to put the editor at the heart of their system, meaning that every image, every drawing, every tactic is available throughout the program, whether it's in your training session, in your match preparation. You can find it easily anywhere. It can be shared easily. You have all kinds of options regarding the way you want to classify your exercise. I'm very happy with this tool. I use it actually a lot, so I'm a little bit biased, but I only choose it because I believe that you should go for the best, and this editor is definitely one that belongs to that group. Thank you for watching this episode. Please subscribe to our channel. We will be reviewing more platforms just to inform you about all the stuff that's out there, all the different tools that might be good for you, so that you as a coach can be more efficient and more effective.